Thank you, Tricia. I'm a social scientist, and I've been working on social acceptability fisheries matters for, oh gosh, I guess it's close to 15 years now. And I was very privileged to be a member of the team led by Kate and Michelle, this project that we're talking about. No? It's not happening. I didn't touch anything.
Well, you did.
I touched that.
Help.
Help.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to give an overview of the project that Kate was actually talking about, but I emphasize overview because 5 to 10 minutes. It's a huge project, and it's really well worth your looking at in more detail if you haven't already. So I'll just put that website up if you want to see the full reports. Okay. So everyone here would be well aware that the seafood industry has been part of life in coastal New South Wales towns for a long time. And we've all heard about how we've got problems like reduced access to resources for both wild catch and aquaculture at times, increased scrutiny of fishing practices, and also persistent information gaps about the value of both those sectors to society, particularly in regional towns, in this case, coastal New South Wales. So when it comes to assessing and deciding how to allocate resources, if you have an incomplete picture, you're going to end up with perhaps some not great decisions about who's going to share those fisheries and marine resources and how. So in 2014, a group of social scientists and economists were funded by FRDC to look at, well, to essentially think outside the square of how do we value the contributions that fisheries, commercial and wild catch and aquaculture in particular, contribute to society. And I'm going to go through some of those findings. So the framework that was used focuses on how and how much the seafood industry contributes to resources for local communities, and by resources we mean food, income, access to services, environmental quality. How much the industries contribute to social relationships in coastal communities, finally how aware and satisfied are a range of different people about those contributions. Do they know about them? Do they feel they're strong enough? And this list shows the different domains of the kinds of contributions that we went through and assessed in the project. And we used, as Kate has talked about, a range of questionnaires. We sent economic questionnaires to producers. We also spent a lot of time in the field talking to different producers. And we did a social survey that looked at, that was distributed to the general public, to fish merchants, and to tourism and hospitality operators. So I'm just going to go through a few of those. There are more that I have. If there's enough time, I can talk about those with you later on. But I'll keep an eye on Trish and the timing. Okay. So Kate has already touched on how the wild catch fisheries and aquaculture contribute to sustaining resilient local economies. And I guess the key points here are not only do both sectors contribute much needed jobs and revenue to New South Wales coastal communities, but perhaps the significant finding is that both sectors have complementary and interdependent social and economic relationships with a number of other industries that are important to these local regional economies. And Kate's spoken about that a bit, particularly this notion of recreational fishing being both supported by and supporting a wild catch through the use of a locally sourced bait. But also our social survey findings, which Kate touched on, that New South Wales residents really want local seafood. They were interested in visiting or watching seafood industry production, either at an aquaculture farm or wild catch unloading of catch. And the public agreed in these communities that the sectors provide important jobs. So we also looked at this contribution of community health. We know that locally sourced seafood is an important source of food and nutrition within local communities. And this is well known by the public, members of the public that we surveyed, who really want to support local seafood industries. And this element, this kind of contribution also connects with the other kinds of contribution like leisure and recreation, which is about having seafood to eat at special occasions, going out to restaurants and such. So Kate also talked about the search and rescue function that we discovered that wild catch professional fishers undertake on a regular basis. They've undoubtedly saved many lives. That's not an insignificant kind of contribution. A lot of the oyster farmers we spoke to talked about being custodians of food safety by virtue of the regulations they have to comply with. They're certainly first responders to any kind of disease outbreak. The healthy environment, contributing to a healthy environment was another important type of contribution that we explored. Not only does the wild catch sector and aquaculturalists have to comply with a range of environmental regulations, we also looked at what they do beyond compliance, so to speak. They have, through the interviews we conducted, we found that they play an active role in monitoring a range of different kinds of environmental conditions in their local areas, sounding the alarm at pollution outbreaks, oyster farmers being very strong advocates for catchment management protection, and a range of activities like that. And the social survey did find that a majority of New South Wales residents and coastal communities do trust both sectors to be good environmental stewards, a bit different from the finding that another project that I worked on, Let's Talk Fish, which was surveyed people in metropolitan areas and found there was a little bit higher levels of mistrust than in regional communities. Okay. All right, I'm going to go on to the conclusions and we can, oops. Oh, backwards. Here we go. No. Forwards. Oops, we lost the back slide. 1 minute. Okay, I'll just tell you what the conclusions are. I'm very PowerPoint focused, it's terrible. So essentially, the outcomes of the project have been to help build more informed decisions about managing seafood industry and developing the industry. By thinking outside the square, beyond simple economic valuations of what an industry contributes or generates, we're able to think about a whole range of different kinds of contributions. For example, we've gotten a better understanding of how the industry's interactions with other important sectors in coastal communities, coastal economies, is really quite central, such as tourism and recreational fishing. It also enables decision makers and communities to focus on how to help build those existing contributions and get rid of or manage the obstacles that stand in the way of those contributions being even more significant. The findings of the report were used in New South Wales parliamentary inquiry into commercial fishing reforms, so it really has had an important impact. And I think I'll leave it there, because I'm out of time.